inspiring him to finally narrate an account of his own. Chris is known as a lot of things to different people. Christopher, the baby boy of Maddie and late Leon Radford, Uncle Kiss to a number of nieces and nephews, Coach Rad to athletes on his football and track teams, Mr. Radford to his 4th grade students, and adding a new moniker soon, Daddy.
Badass nickname is Coach Rad.
Coach Rad.
Coach Rad.
God, that's so cool.
Not cool in my life.
Ever, me neither. Woo. His friends affectionately call him C-Rad, and after tonight, you can do the same. So please welcome to the stage, Chris Radford. C-Rad.
Thank you to whoever got the lighting right up here. I was really worried after I saw the first 3 performers about this brown body just disappearing. Whoever you are, hey, thank you. I appreciate you. All right, let's get started, shall we? So, not too long after Chevy Chase, or how you might know him as Clark Griswold, took his family on an epic family vacation back in 1983, I decided that I was going to make a splash on the first family furlough that I would actually remember. Up to that point, I've been to Memphis and St. Louis and parts of Mississippi that I'm sure had countless Cousin Eddies there, but this was going to be a totally different experience. See, this gray matter that was up there had a little bit more time to develop, so I was going to be able to enjoy some of my experiences in a totally different light. All the intrigue and just beauty of what a vacation actually was. The only thing that might be better is catching a really nice filly behind a cherry red Ferrari, just giving the old how do you do. My family and I, and a couple of friends of ours, were headed down to Florida, and we were going to the real big blue nation, the ocean. See? That's right. Up until this point, the ocean to me, I'd only experienced through magazines, television, and movies. But now I had the opportunity to gaze upon all the beautiful blue hues that I'd only experienced in my Crayola crayon big box. I was a little bit smarter and wiser than some of those earlier trips that I'd been carried on. You see, I knew a couple of things before we took off. One, we were headed southeast. I knew cardinal directions. I had a few more wrinkles. And number 2, the thing that I thought that I knew, but I didn't really find out until long ago, it's a long fucking way down that holiday road to Florida. Like an eternity. But nothing makes up for an 18-plus hour ride on a 7-passenger, state-of-the-art, sky blue Ford Aerostar, like waking up to what seemed like an infinite line of palm trees and a briny breeze now entering through the window. I could smell and I could taste the ocean before I ever laid eyes on it. I could, before my toes even touched the sand. But that was all soon going to change. We'd pull up to the hotel, shoot straight up to the room, drop our bags off, stretch to get our land legs back as we've been cruising on that long holiday road. We'd change into our bathing suits and we'd be off to the beach. Somewhere in the midst of all that, I'd be mistaken for an Emmanuel Lewis, who was 12 or 13 at the time, portraying a 6-year-old orphan boy, as you may remember as Webster. Now, if I had a few more crinkles in my cranium at that time, I probably would have looked at that poor man's Mr. Papadopoulos and in true 80s fashion told him to shut his pie hole for 2 reasons. 1, I was already adopted. If you heard my mom story, you know that one. And number 2, and most importantly, I was going to be way taller than Webster. So I thought. We'd exit that awkward elevator exchange, and then we'd finally make it to the beach. It's breathtaking. All of God's glory right there for me to behold. I remember digging my toes in the sand, picking up as much of it as I could, being fascinated with the texture, how it could both stick to my hands and also slip through my fingers at the same time. We walked together as a group collecting seashells by the seashore until we stopped to set up shop, and there weren't too many people out, so it was a fairly easy decision. I did what most kids do on the beach with my trusty shovel and my pail in the other hand, was I constructed a bunch of awesome nothingness as long as my parents were watching. But as soon as they stopped, rad be nimble, rad be quick, I was taking a trip on the ocean kick. Boom. I was making that splash. This little brown body and this ginormous blue mass floating. Didn't have a care in the world because at that time there wasn't anything called Shark Week that was going to curb my impulses. Right? And even though I had all these wrinkles up here with things developing, there's this tiny little almond-shaped thing up here called the amygdala that should have screamed out, "This is dangerous!" But you know who did have that developed? Everyone else that was on that beach, including my mother, who was paralyzed with fear. I don't even remember her screaming. She was helpless as she had ever been, because at that moment, she couldn't get to me. A friend of the family ran out to me in true David Hasselhoff fashion, and without any water in the lungs, got me to shore, where I was greeted with an immense mama bear hug and also admonished in the same breath like only a true, loving, and concerned mother could do. We go on to enjoy the rest of our vacation without any adventures for me, and I would love to say that I'll remember this forever and ever, but truth be told is I may not. Unlike the Griswold family, there were no sequels for us, and a couple of decades later, looking back on it, I'm more afraid than I ever was at that moment. You see, my mom may not remember that. And every now and then I have to give her reminders about some things because she doesn't remember what I just told her from 2 weeks ago. In another 10 or 15 years, I'm not sure what she's going to remember. As she starts to deal with her early onset dementia, my siblings and I also deal with it. And we start to see all those folds and those creases that we've all earned start to smooth a little bit. It's a scary thing because now that amygdala that was not developed at all is now screaming, and I'm in the exact same position my mother was in, paralyzed with fear, not knowing if I'll ever be able to get to it. So our vacation is over, but it's still a long way down that holiday road. Thank you.